everyone, this is Zervoudakis with Holistic Healing Astrology. Today I want to cover what's new with Holistic Healing Astrology. Also, I want to give you some insights on the questions that I've been getting from emails, social media, and live. So I just wanted to clarify a bunch of lunar information and metaphysical information about crystals and a few of my insights. As you know, I am an astrologer with psychic medium and great intuitive abilities. I teach as I go. So as I speak to you, I tell you how you could do this type of work yourself. It's just a little practice. It's like going to the gym. So let's begin with what's new. We do have the social media platforms. They're all named Holistic Healing Astrology. It's easy to remember. And the new one is the TikTok. That's very, very short videos. That is for people to get a feel of what we do during a reading here. Also, we have Instagram, and we're making it look nice and pretty thanks to an internship, Megan, that's working with us. She's very phenomenal. Also, we do have other interns, Alicia, and we have Holly. And Alicia is working on the life coaching aspects of the business, and Holly is really into the astrology and the numerology. She's got great intuitive abilities as well, working really hard with that. So we also are doing live readings if you're in the Virginia Beach area. So you have to check the social media posts to see when and where, but we do different venues. For example, the Edgar Cayce's ARE, and it's the Association of Research and Enlightenment. That's in Virginia Beach. We also are at the Gypsy Soul Boutique. That's a really cool place. And we got some other surprises that will be happening at that location too, which is in the Vibe District in Virginia Beach. So we also are posting some tidbits of information on Instagram. For those of you that are serious about astrology, or, you're like, hey, what is this astrology about? And you've Googled some stuff and you follow TikTok and Instagram, and you're getting these little bits and pieces of information, but you're not sure how it all works together. You may be interested in the, you could get on the wait list for the Astrology Made Super Easy course. It's a 4-week course that's been simplified for you so you could get a really good idea of the complexity, the scientific part of astrology, and all the little nuances. So it's a great program, and get it while it's available. And we will be doing live classes at the Adult Learning Center here in Virginia Beach too, but that won't be until the fall. So I thank you again for stopping by. I thank you for all your questions and your feedback. Also on the website, you could check all the links in the description of this video. You'll see that you could subscribe to the blog. You could go on the first page on the home page, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can subscribe to the newsletter. The newsletter comes out once a month, and that kind of gives you a highlight of what's going on. And we have certain information that we put out there on the metaphysical front, on the astrological front, and a lot of it is based on what the audience is looking for. So I really appreciate and welcome your comments, and it's all good because it gives me lots of content direction to give you. Because I always wonder, well, what do they want to hear? And when you ask me a question, then that's so much easier for me. And that way we could get that question answered. So I thank you again, and let's get on with this video. So the first thing I want to talk about is what I put on my latest blog about the lunar influence on humans, how the moon influences humans. Well, what's interesting about the moon, first of all, the moon symbolizes in astrology our feelings, our emotions, our mother, of course, mother's emotional, that kind of thing. It's the way we're nurtured, or we like to be nurtured, and the way we nurture people. So it's one of the closest planets. It is the closest planet to us. It's a moon. It's not really a planet. And then the sun is further out, much further out in the distance. But yet, from the perspective of Earth, when you look at the sun and the moon, they're the same size. And that is why we're able to have an eclipse. So the eclipse is when the moon goes in front of the sun and blocks out the sun. So you get like an eclipse. And so we have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And they're about 2 weeks apart, and they come as pairs. So with the solar eclipse, that is during a new moon. And with a lunar eclipse, that is during a full moon. So, and then we also have the nodes, the lunar nodes, and that has to do with the intersection of the moon and the sun's path. And that's the spot where if it's going north, that means it is a north node. And if it's traveling south, that's a south node. But they're imaginary points. And that has meaning too. So let's backtrack and talk about the new moon, full moon, before we get into the nodes. So whenever we have an eclipse, we're dealing with a new moon and a full moon. And I have a lot of videos about the new moon and the full moon. But the more you talk about the moons and get deeper and deeper, the more they have to say. Well, the planets and the luminaries, the sun and the moon, give the action and character. They're like characters in a meeting or characters in a play. So the planets are the action, okay? Who's doing what? The sign where the planets are hanging out is how those characters are behaving. So for example, let's talk about what's going on right now with the full moon in the full moon is in Taurus. The sun, it's actually Scorpio, but the sun is in Taurus. So by definition, a full moon is an opposition, which means they're opposite one another. So you have the sun in Taurus opposite the moon in Scorpio. So whenever you have an opposition in astrology, it's like a tug of war. No, I want it my way. No, they want it their way. So it's a back and forth and a back and forth. There's negotiation involved. It's got a lot going on. And that's why it's a full moon is intense, because the sun represents the ego, who you are, even your appearance, right? It's the core of who you are. The moon are your emotions and your feelings. So then you have, and the moon is introspective and it reflects inward, but the sun is extrospective. It goes out and it projects. So when you have these two energies together, no, contain yourself, take it in, be receiving, or no, give it out and be of ego, then there's a little bit of a conflict. So we're dealing with the signs of Scorpio and Taurus. Well, Taurus is an earth sign and it's a fixed sign. And you know, earth, think about earth. It's heavy, it's soil. It has everything to do with plants, growing stuff, with wood, because it's a tree, stability, discipline, steady, reliable, comfort, you know, all those fabrics, the silk and all that, that's of earth. So when we talk about Taurus, it's also about possessions, what we want, what we have. It's about how we make money. It's also about building. You know, you construct with wood and all that other stuff of the earth, rocks, bricks, right? In that respect, it also is your self-worth and what you value, because Taurus's ruling planet, they go together, is Venus. Well, Venus represents the energy of attraction, love, money, food. You see how they all work together? They have similarities. Now, my keyword list for every planet, almost everything, aspects and signs, I have about between 25 to 60 words for each character, for each component. And then you're going to say, well, what do you mean? How does that work? Well, not all Taurus words relate to every single Taurus. It's very important that you understand that. Some Taurians can be looked at as lazy, or they may start out as lazy because leisurely, well, they're simple as far as, you know, they don't want a lot of complication. So what they do is like, they'll make a simple meal. They'll have simple decor. Does that make sense? So one of the ways that I teach is I have people, you know, look at the list of the words that they get out of the lectures and find which one resonates to you at this point in time. So now let's go opposite of Taurus. And so it's about personal possessions, your own self-worth, how you make your own income. So Scorpio is on the other side, and it is a fixed sign too, which means they don't like to change. Fixed means they want to stay where they're at, and they could be stubborn, hard to get through, especially if it's earth. Now, Scorpio is a water sign. It's not earth. So a water element is very different from the earth element. You know, when you look at a pool of water, it's so much different than earth, dirt. So the water signs are very sensitive. They're very receptive. And you've heard about Dr. Emoto that did the experiment on the water, and he would take the water. Oh, this is a glass. Too bad you can't see it because I have that filter, but you have the glass, and then the label on the glass is a certain word. And then he did an experiment, froze the water, and the next thing you know, the crystal, like snowflake, can be very ugly or unsymmetrical. And the one with the nice words, the positive words, would be symmetrical. So he started this whole thing about that words have energy, words are powerful. So water does take in a lot of the energy from the surrounding environment. Very important to know that. So what does Scorpio represent? On the whole, it's other resources, shared resources. Well, what does that mean? Well, when you have your money in the bank, that's a shared resource. When you have credit, that's a shared resource. If you have an inheritance, that's a shared resource. Insurances, all that kind of shared husband, wife, partners, there's shared resources, shared money. I hope this makes sense to you. Scorpio also represents intensity, all or nothing. Okay. They're very secretive. They're very private. They love to go deep into a subject, they also rule psychology. And by the way, most of the professional astrologers by profession were psychologists, psychiatrists. And back when this was illegal, because you don't want to get in trouble for practicing astrology, behind the scenes, they would do studies with their clients, and they helped their clients that way. And they had a really deep understanding on the psychological front, how astrology relates to people's ego, people's feelings. So when you read these astrology books and it sounds pretty heavy, and they're into, your mother was this and your father was that, and that kind of psychological basis, just be aware that a lot of them were psychologists. So now we're in an area in time where astrology is pretty mainstream. Even in the Wall Street Journal, they talked about, I think it was the Mercury retrograde and stuff like that. They're all getting in on the act. But, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. It takes a long commitment to understand astrology, do a good reading, and you have to have some intuition too. But I know it's in my chart all over the place. And that's the other thing too. Your chart will echo. It's not just in one spot, what your theme is for your life. So back to Scorpio. Scorpio also represents the things that people are not comfortable talking about. Besides psychology, it's about death, it's about sex. So that kind of thing. So with these two energies, the Taurus and the Scorpio, it's really interesting how it relates to our everyday life, because these energies are for everybody out there. So with this full moon, we're called to release that whatever we have in our mind, how we feel about our money, our resources, our value versus other resources, other, like the banking and all that, especially now with what's going on. So the sun is in Taurus. That's where we shine. Our ego is all about possessions. But the emotional component is with Scorpio. And that's what we're really feeling very deeply right now. Like, do I really need all the money in the bank? And it's hitting with me very personally, because what's interesting, my personal chart, my moon is in Taurus and my sun is in the 8th house, which is a Scorpio house. And my ascendant is Scorpio. So this full moon is very powerful for me. Well, it's not the end of the world. It's a good thing because we have free will. And I'm going to be talking a lot about free will with all the videos moving forward. It's so important to understand that free will is exactly what it means. You have freedom to choose whether you believe the interpretation of your astrology chart or not, because I'm just a translator of the language. The astrology chart is nothing more than a representative contract between spirit, your God, and yourself before you came into this world. It's a roadmap. And whether you want to choose that way or not is up to you. So think of an architect that does a sketch, a blueprint of your next home. And you got all the details in it. Believe me, it's detailed. I've done it with an architect. And he said to me, you could change the blueprint anytime you want. But once we pour the cement, it's going to be difficult to change, but you still can. So that being said, this astrology chart is your blueprint, but you could change it anytime you want. It's just going to be a little bit of work. You know, you're going to have to erase this and do that. It's some tweaking, but it's your life. So yeah, we're going to have some influences and some challenges and some struggles. Everybody gets them. What's the difference between one person and the other is how you handle the challenges, how you handle your life. You could handle it as a victim, or you could handle it as, you know what? What's the lesson here? What am I learning from all this? Besides, I'm a victim. What can I do to change? And do some soul searching. And that's how I do my astrology readings for those that really want to dig deep. But the first session and the complete session, it's a thorough session, excuse me, will always tell you what is going on, what is in your face, and, you know, the superficial stuff. And then we start digging down, because some people are interested in careers, some people are interested in partnerships, some people are interested in their home life, health, and that kind of thing, you know. So the chart also reveals the emphasis of what's important in that person's life. And I see a lot of this. They'll have the sun in the sign, and it'll be the only thing in that sign, just one sun. Well, we have all these other planets and positions that are important in astrology. I use the sun, the moon, the luminaries. I use the north and south nodes. And then I use all the personal planets, the outer planets, the asteroid Chiron, Black Moon, Lilith. I use a part of fortune. I use a lot of influences there so you could really get more out of the reading. So it's complicated, but you know what? It's so amazing what this chart reveals to you, and that you realize, you know what? That horrible thing that I thought was horrible, and I thought my parents were the worst parents in the world. And then you marry someone that has really bad parents, like made your parents look like angels. Well, isn't that interesting? Because now we're looking at it from a different perspective. Everything's about perspective. So when you look at your astrology chart, there's two ways to look at it. You could look at it positively or negatively, and it's your choice. I'm all about the law of attraction. I'm all about the power of words. Let me tell you something. What you think about, what you talk about, you will surely, surely, surely attract. So if something god awful happened in the past, now with the full moon, it's a perfect time to do your little ritual, write it down on a sheet of paper. I release whatever it is that you release, and then burn it, destroy it. And one thing I learned about shamanism, because I do a tremendous amount of research, and I'm always reading, studying, and trying to make things easier for my clients. But with shamanism, they've taken about the 50,000 year history of our ancestors, the humans, how they lived, and how they handled it was first their spirit, then, you know, we respect spirit, we join spirit or God, whatever you want to call it, and then we have to take care of earth, because that's who takes care of us. Everything comes from the earth, and then ourselves. So I feel that's very important. Now we're seeing what we have done to the earth. by always thinking about us. Yes, plastic was really good when it came out, but then we got irresponsible with plastic. We didn't dispose properly, with radiation, with all kinds of stuff, pollution. And the thing is, if we created something positive, we could create also a positive solution. We don't have to go down that doom and gloom road, you know? So I hope you found some good information from this from this topic. And I'm going to continue now and go into the nodes, because the eclipses are just an enhanced time of a new moon, full moon cycle, where it resurrects pains and past influences that need to be addressed so you can learn from it and grow. That's it in a nutshell. But the lunar nodes, the north and the south nodes, are very important in the chart. And right now, they're very close to the moon and the sun. And the north node and the south node are always opposite. So the south node is what you came into the world familiar with. It could be, if you believe in past life, it could be your last past life based on the sign. And it also is something that we need to let go of, because we're not in that life anymore. Yes, we mastered whatever that sign was. So it would be, let's say it's Taurus. So we've got to eliminate that holding on to possessions and not being so possession oriented. And the north node is Scorpio, and that would represent the shared resources. And that's our future, and that's what we're moving forward to. So based on that, that's it in a nutshell. I don't want to go I don't want to go on and on, but there was a question too that came. You mentioned something about cleaning the crystals with the moon, put the crystals out so the moon will shine on them and cleanse them. But I heard on Instagram, you shouldn't do that. Well, it's your preference. It's whatever you believe in. It's a biology of belief. So if you believe that the crystals that hold energy, just like water will hold energy, okay, that can be cleansed with all the elements that we work with in astrology. And I put all these little tidbits of information on my social media, but I'm kind of doing a comprehensive video because I haven't done a video in a while. So how can you clean crystals? Well, I put them out in the sunlight. How long? The longer the better, because they're absorbing energy. Can you imagine if you didn't clean yourself in a day or two? It's the same thing with crystals. They have to be cleaned. You could also use fire, smoke, with saging or incense. I use frankincense. And, it's very traditional with the charcoal. And one day I'll do a video on that. I'll probably do a TikTok first because it's so much easier. And, who wants to talk, for 15, 20 minutes about incensing? You could do that on TikTok. You also could cleanse with water, like in running water or salt water. I don't like to do the salt water with the crystals because salt may corrode, and I always use sea salt. I don't use any other kind of salt. Sea salt is great because it has a lot of minerals, and it's just good for you. Very beneficial. So the other thing too is when you put those crystals in nature in any way, they'll get cleansed. So I also understand from the shamanistic point of view that a ritual attached to any intention is what makes it work. And that's what makes the law of attraction work. The secret of the secret, the secret is they didn't tell you all the secrets, but intentions go very well with a ritual. So whatever ritual you're comfortable with, as long as it's a ritual, and you do this intention that you are going to release today or yesterday, because you have a little window of opportunity, and get rid of these energies and habits or whatever that don't serve you anymore. Now's the time to do it. So burn it, get rid of it. And it's, sometimes I've done this myself. We've all done it, but we've had a problem with somebody. So we repeat the problem. Then we go on and we tell everybody about the same problem that happened now, not just yesterday, but a week ago, a month ago, 10 years ago. And to me, and I'm going to be very, very crude, this is the Scorpio coming out, but I am a Gemini sun, even though it's in the 8th house, Scorpio house. But it's like, imagine living back in colonial Williamsburg. And, when they went to the bathroom, they had a bucket and everybody would go in that bucket, and the young kids would have to take, the excrement out and dump it. Pretty gross, isn't it? Well, now we're pretty sophisticated. Thank goodness, we have plumbing, and you go to the bathroom and everything goes down into the sewers. That's also Scorpio, sewer, anything under the ground, creepy crawly stuff, bugs and, all that. So imagine if all that negativity of all those memories of all this stuff that happened to you from 10, 20, 30 years ago, and you're still talking about it, you're keeping, that's like stirring the pot. It's like you're keeping everything alive. It doesn't help. It hurts because you're reliving the pain. It's better to just let it go. That's what they mean by let it go. Let God, let it go, forgive. That was in the past. And I've done it myself. I go, oh, I always do that. Something negative. Oh, I always forget. I always, get in trouble. I always drive fast on this road. Whatever it is, when you say I always, you just sent that message out to the universe. So you're always going to do it. You just programmed yourself. Just think of your brain as a computer system. And you're programming it with all the words that come out of your mouth and all your thoughts, so 60,000 of them per day. So I'm going to challenge you. Start paying attention to what you say. Start paying attention to your thoughts, and start paying attention who you're hanging around with. It's all up to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Check all the links below. Give me some comments. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Have a great lunar experience. Ciao.